All right, guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have another amazing guest with me today. She's actually like my high school best friend. And I'm just looking forward to having this conversation. So stay tuned. Welcome back. I have my friend from high school, Eva. We used to be what I used to say, Ben Shambati.
Yes,
That's what I was always told. Wherever you saw one, there was the other, always at all
that's the
times.
truth.
And it's been years since we've actually gotten together because we were in different places, just kind of lost touch, kind of,
Right.
try to keep in touch over the years. But now we're um, grown adults with
Yes,
families, and I
yes.
just really wanted to have a conversation about your journey and what that is like. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about you, your status, and how many kids you have.
Well, I'm Eva Charles. Like Atika said, we were high school besties. I currently reside in New Jersey, but I'm a Brooklyn girl at heart and forever will be. So I'm currently married with two kids, a boy and a girl. I work for a 500 Fortune company, Compass Real Estate broker firm, and I'm just juggling between being a mother, a wife, a student, and a full-time worker. So I'm all over the place right now.
And it's okay. I think that's just all of our titles that just kind of put
Mhm.
together. So let's kind of like jump into it. But before we get into the whole kids section of it, what was that transition like? Just becoming an adult. Now, first the adult piece, and then we're going to transition to being a kid, a parent.
Well, my story is probably different from others. Maybe similar, who knows? But my story is pretty much, I'm sure you already know Katika. I had a pretty rough life. Being that child that was more like I basically was an adult before I became an adult. I had to kind of like care for my younger siblings. My mom pretty much worked two full-time jobs and, tried to do her best to provide for us. But of course, I was the eldest in the home at the time. So I sort of kind of like had to become an adult at a very early age. You know what I mean? And so I also left home at a very young age. I was 16 going to 17 years old. So yeah, I pretty much became an adult before my time, and it was pretty rough, juggling between homes and, not being able to trust people that were the closest to me and not being able to confide in anyone because you have to understand, like, growing up in our time, there was a lot of like peer pressure. There was a lot of like criticism. It wasn't like now, the time now where you can actually confide in someone and talk to someone and that person can comfort you and be there for you, like you want them to be. So I was pretty much alone. And then I worked through that. My church family helped me get through that.
Mhm.
And I met a wonderful man who's now my husband, um, who kind of like helped me break free from all my troubles and all my dark days and everything like that. And we've been together for almost 17 years. And, we had two kids, and it was like the best thing that ever happened to me. So now I'm still here, still trying to find my way, but overall, I feel a little bit more consistent and a little bit more like where I want to be. You know what I mean?
Yes, awesome. You said so many important things there, just how your childhood and growing up and having to grow up so quickly impacted you as an individual. I'm sure we're going to get to that, how that impacted you as a parent. And then not only that, just the fact that, man, just being at a place where they're like, I got to do something different. I have to do things. And like you said, when we were growing up with the peer pressure piece of it, it's slightly different. Before it's like, oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Now we're encouraging our kids and the younger generation. Let's talk about it. There's mental health. It's real. You know, before it was just like, go sit over there. You're fine. You can work through it. This is a part of it. And sometimes we just need to have that outlet, someone that we can talk to, someone that is there for us. So I get it. Totally get it.
Yeah.
So now that you met your husband, you know, got married, had, you know, your kids, you said you have a son and a daughter, right?
Yeah.
Now thinking about, and as you've mentioned, growing up so quickly, what were some of those things that you were so intentional of not wanting to repeat that your parents did that you would like to share?
I'm a big advocate of like breaking generational curses. I'm a big advocate for that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, recently I went on vacation with my family. You know, this is something that I feel like people need to start building with their children. You know how like nowadays people want to be like fancy and have these big old parties for their kids and invite a whole bunch of strangers that they barely speak to on a regular basis, right? And just to show off and show out. I prefer to do like intimate things with my children because I never had that. Yeah. I never had that with my family. And I'm not to bash my parents, especially my mother. She did absolutely everything she could, but I didn't have, and I'm speaking for myself and my siblings, like we didn't have the family support. We didn't have the family time. We didn't say, I love you. We didn't say, let's sit at the dinner table together and have dinner. We didn't build those type of like values. We didn't create any type of like, you know, traditions within our family. And so like, we were all so disconnected. You know what I mean? We were so disconnected, and I'm not doing that with my children. We have breakfast time. We have family time. We have movie time. We have just moments where I want to know, how was your day? What happened at school today? How are you feeling? And, you know, coming from a Caribbean home, and I'm sure you can relate, like you couldn't come home and tell your parents what was happening at school or how you're feeling, or even give your parents feedback. Because I feel like it was a disrespect to our mothers, our fathers, to give them feedback about their behavior. I will definitely sit down at a table and look at my son and my daughter in the eye and say, what did I do to make you feel uncomfortable? What did I say to make you feel out of place? Yeah. I want to fix that and say, I'm sorry if I did something that was not pleasant for them. So all of these things that I'm doing now is basically what I yearn for from my parents. So breaking those curses and changing the narrative is what I'm about right now with my family.
I think that is just so amazing. And I know that we kind of clicked very well in high school, also because we did have moms that were busy working. Like we were almost like going home cooking, taking care of ourselves. Or, you know, I shared my other video, having the landlord that I sat with, you know, until it was time to go to bed. And they did what they could at that time. You know, when I came to this country, of course, and we all know that with my mom, and when I was staying with her, she had to work, you know, to be able to take care of me. And some of those things that, as far as the traditional time when she was home, you know, of course, we'll do certain things together. But being able to change that, like just being so intentional, like I get it. Like even with my daughter, I'm always like loving on her and letting her know I support her and showing up for her activities. Because even when we was doing dancing, African dance, you know, we were kind of supporting each other because our parents couldn't be there. And just being able to do that. So for my daughter, whatever sport she was in, or gymnastics or dance, I was always there. You know, I can remember once just missing one competition that she was in. So just being so intentional, knowing that we want to show them that same love, that support that we never got. And like, you're right, growing up in a West Indian house, You can do nothing. If not, you can't talk back. You can't do this. You can't do that. There was a level of respect. And I think we can also respectfully share how we feel. And we just didn't have that opportunity. And I now agree with my daughter the same. You can respectfully share your opinion and how you're feeling. It just needs to be done in a respectful way. Right. So it's different. And we just have to be at a place where we have to try to break those generational curses or those things that they did what they can. But I always think as parents, we have to think about how can we evolve? How can we be greater than our parents? That's how we start to change those things.
Exactly. And just to add on to that, sometimes I feel like, when you're a parent and you're so strict, I get it, you want to be strict, but that's not always the right way to raise your children, because like if my parents was not so strict with me, I probably would have opened up more to them what was happening in my life, and a lot of things that did take place in my life probably would have not taken place, but had I had that relationship with my mother, I would have been able to open up to her and share with her what was happening in my life. And I'm not saying that I regret. Yeah, of course I regret all the things that happened to me, but it made me the person that I am today.
Right.
And I'm not saying like, oh, I overcame it and I'm over all the stuff that happened, but I'm better, I'm stronger, and I know how to help others who probably might have similar situations as I did.
Yeah, and it's true. And it's so authentic. And I think this is why I want to have these conversations. Because the truth is, we're probably not over some of them. We're just better. Yeah. We know how to change some of those things.
How to deal with
better parent, how to grow, how to help somebody else. Hence the reason why I wanted to have these conversations. So we can help somebody else who's going through something, who's in a similar situation. If you have to grow up too quickly, like you mentioned, how can I say, hey, slow down, just be a kid? And I tell my daughter that every single day, baby, adulthood is not all what it cracks up to be, okay? It is. You can probably say, yes, I can make decisions and do what I want, but just enjoy being a kid. There's just so much to it, right? And I think that's our opportunity to give them that chance to just be kids, just enjoy being a child. And when they get to adulthood, deal with the things that come along with it, because that's a whole different phase of life that comes with other responsibilities.
Tell me about it.